What's up guys, it's me Jeremy. So the LeBlanc rework was announced, and as you guys have definitely been enjoying our rework videos so far quite a lot recently, I definitely do want to try and make at least one video for pretty much all the ones that are going to be a big deal if not more. And LeBlanc was announced a few days back as being part of the big four of the Assassin reworks. There's now been, a big Riot announcement. They made a huge post about it, so we're going to break it down about what we know for sure, as well as what you can also expect to see take place in the future rework of LeBlanc. And as always, if you guys enjoyed the video, hit that like button, and if you don't, definitely hit that dislike. And if this video hits 5k ratings, let's say I'm gonna do a Q&A on Discord sometime. I'll announce it on Twitter, and you guys can come ask me some questions and stuff. I've done it before, it's been a lot of fun. Anyway, let's get started. So these Assassin reworks are of course made to give each Assassin champion their own little niche sort of, and of course to make sure that they can assassinate in a healthy way that actually benefits their teams too. So for LeBlanc, her killing power at the moment is honestly pretty insane, and overall it's just a little bit too difficult to avoid for a lot of champions. And although she does kind of have like her own cool little niche or theme, I guess you could say, in terms of like the deception sort of thing that she's got going on, that deception stuff isn't actually that core to her kit. It's kind of just like happens as a result of her using her burst, right? Like if you somehow manage to actually survive her burst and damage her, you just end up getting mind gamed by her totally free escape rather than LeBlanc actually planning to trick you in advance, right? Like it's more of just a reaction thing. You get tricked because you just can't react, not because it's part of her kit, right? Or you might end up chasing her clone because she just happened to fall low enough in health to trigger it. So what's the point in her being all about deception if it kind of just happens as like a secondary thing? I mean, it'd be much better if LeBlanc players actually had to plan ahead to mess you up, kind of like how, like how Shaco does, right? That's a better example. Well, that's definitely going to be a big target of her upcoming rework, and it's one of the main reasons that she's just going to be one of the big four of the Assassin reworks. So from Rioter 20th Century Foe, we found out that Riot really wants LeBlanc's shenanigans to essentially just to be a main part of her appeal. So although they definitely don't want to take away from her core abilities like her just powerful mobility, they also do want to try to tune her in a way that gives her opponents time to actually react to things, and also to give the LeBlanc players a little bit more options than just jumping on top of people and slamming them with her body. So with that in mind, it gives two goals for Riot to try to aim with for her rework. First off, to make her burst more fair and to give her like a more actively deceptive playstyle to keep people guessing and to keep things confusing in a way that's based off of the design of the abilities rather than just the actual damage output. I mean, what's the point in tricking someone if they're just dead before they realize they've actually been tricked, right? It's totally got to be more fun to have just someone come to like the slow realization that they've actually been outplayed, right? That's probably the direction that it's going to take. And so how do we make LeBlanc more fair, right? Counterplay is always going to be a big deal, and we've heard a lot from Riot about how they have a few ideas of how to implement a little bit more in LeBlanc. One example they actually gave us, which would be a pretty good way to give LeBlanc at least a little bit more counterplay, is somewhat similar to that Zed change where he was given a delay between casting his ultimate and returning to it after he casted it. And so with that in mind, it's almost certain at this point actually to show up on LeBlanc's new W distortion. Like she's going to get some kind of time window of like after you cast distortion, you can't actually jump back for maybe half a second or a second. They said it wasn't going to be a very long amount, probably half a second, if not less actually. So 20th Century Foe also mentioned that they want to extend her burst damage window. And so essentially what they mean by that is that, currently LeBlanc can just press all of her buttons, WRQE on someone, and they're pretty much just instantly dead, right? So they kind of want to gate that power behind a delay, so she actually has to like stay in a fight longer to actually get the kill, to where she's actually like committing some sort of risk towards actually trying to assassinate a target. So, obviously that's going to introduce a ton more risk to her actual gameplay, but if you want the rewards of playing an assassin, that risk is a very important part of just keeping their gameplay patterns healthy in the first place. So her Q's mark and the delay on the second chunk of damage from her E-chain kind of work right now at slowing down her burst. It requires her to at least land multiple abilities, but honestly because she can just jump on you for massive damage with her W, she's kind of rewarded for just going deep as hell and then jumping out immediately. It's quite likely that her new rework will offer new ability combinations so that she has other ways to burst where the riskier versions or the slower versions have a little bit more damage. And because of the delay they'll give her W, it's also going to probably stop that strategy working as well anyway of just using her W as the main source of damage tool. So really they want to find a way to just keep her overall total damage the same, but maybe give her the chance to deceive in the middle of the fight, which puts the counterplay a little bit more in the hands of the victim. You know, if you're playing against a LeBlanc, you play it right and you can actually kill her or just survive at least. Or if she tricks you, you get deceived and she's going to walk away with that 300 gold just like she would before. So the important thing is that you actually will get a chance to try and punish her or outplay her. So that solves the damage issues anyway, but you know, what about this deceptive sort of theming kind of stuff? So this kind of ties into the idea that assassins should have something to bring to teams, and right now LeBlanc's trickery is not really her main thing, you know, it's kind of just like there, but not really her main goal that she tries to do in her gameplay. You know, she can do some similar stuff to Shaco and Zed, but she will definitely be able to go much further with it after the changes. It'd have to be versatile so that it could be used in both lanes and in team fights, so it's probably not going to be a stealth mechanic, but it's probably going to be something completely new that can just trick or maybe confuse enemies, or honestly maybe even just flat out lie to people by giving them completely false information that LeBlanc's team gets to use as an advantage. Riot also mentioned that she'll probably be harder to play effectively overall, but she's going to have a lot more options along with more counterplay for each of them as well. So it's going to be actually pretty hyped to see what they come up with, and it's just going to be a lot more fair gameplay patterns overall. One of our guesses is that maybe she's going to get some strategy involving with her clone. That's going to be a big part of it, since that's honestly like an insanely cool way to trick enemies. They just have to make sure it doesn't eat too much into Shaco's design space. I mean, there are a lot of options, but I'm pretty confident that it's just going to be a new mechanic, or at least like her developing the clone mechanic a little bit more from what she already has. It's probably not going to be stealth, not going to be something that already exists in the game, so that's actually pretty exciting. So from what we know so far, this is pretty much what we're expecting is going to happen overall throughout her entire kit. So her Q is pretty much definitely still going to be a single target ability, and it's probably still going to have some kind of mark effect attached, but it might have a different delivery method, and the mark is probably going to work a little bit differently, as opposed to just, you know, hey, here's some more damage if you hit a target with the mark on it. And so that's it for her Q, and her W distortion is going to get some changes, of course. Probably not to the ability herself. It's still going to be a blink where she gets to blink back. They do want to keep her mobility and make sure that she can still mind game in the same way that she can right now, but of course it's going to get the tweak to make it easier to play around in the sense that it's getting that delay on it. It's probably also going to get the speed back from before the nerfs, so that's something that you LeBlanc players can be happy about. But it's going to lose some damage power to put into her other abilities, because right now it's kind of just overloaded and it's just way too core for her actual effectiveness, because it does so much. You know, it's her mobility, it's her escape, it's her engage, it's her damage, it's her wave clear, it's everything. So her W is going to be toned down a bit, and also, of course, like we mentioned, given that delay. So LeBlanc's chain on her E is the ability in her kit that is pretty much the least likely to receive changes. Riot definitely likes the ability a lot, and honestly the design of her E is very healthy. And we know for sure is that it's definitely going to get a range indicator like Morgana's ultimate, so when you're hit by the chain, you know when it's actually going to be out of range, which is something that's a little bit frustrating to deal with right now, but other than that, it's not going to get anything other than minor number tweaks. So her ultimate Mimic is also probably not going to change all that much. It's a very iconic ability for her and something kind of unlike anything else in the game so far. So it's not really like it needs a change to actually make her a more unique champion. They did say it might get changed in a way that lets her combo a little bit more fluidly though, but it's kind of hard to guess what that might look like until we know what they do with her Q and her mark. She's probably going to lose the current passive, but clones are a really cool and deceptive mechanic, so she might keep some version of it that's a little bit more reliable to use, and could maybe give good LeBlanc players a way to shine actually, to show that they're better than everyone else. Maybe like setting up their own clone in advance to trick enemies, maybe playing into major cooldowns, you know, similar things to what you can do with Shaco's ultimate kind of. There's a lot of mind games involved with Shaco using his ultimate, so it's not that unlikely that something like that happens to LeBlanc as well. So it's sounding like Riot's focus is to just make her clone more accessible maybe, or to give her some sort of new mechanic for trickery, and to just give her better combos rather than just throwing the Q at someone and triggering it. So at the very least, she will maybe actually be more fun to play, since there's going to be more ways to play her rather than just smashing WR and then baiting with your dash resets and stuff. And she's still going to be difficult to play too, so for you LeBlanc players, you're going to have a lot of fun mastering the new version of LeBlanc. Anyways, we always want to hear what your guesses are, so definitely let us know in the comments below if you have any good ideas about what Riot might do with LeBlanc, or, maybe about what Riot should do with LeBlanc. Either way, looks like that's going to be it for me. If you guys enjoyed the video, drop a like, subscribe if you want. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.